Hello and welcome to the Brit Iron podcast free agency extravaganza. Not my words, the words of young Samuel Berry, who's to the left. All right, if you look
We've got to
in the
really
camera.
deliver now. If this is not an enjoyable episode, we've really overpromised, underdelivered, and I'm not about that. Apart from in my job and everything else I do in life, but not here.
We've gone somewhere with that.
Yep, and Matt is also with us today, of course, on my right, or probably your left if you're watching this now.
Left, yeah.
Throws me off every time. I left and rights. It's not my forte.
I do that. That's how I do it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Still doesn't help though, because I don't know which angle they look at, and or if they're listening, doesn't really matter for them, does it?
No. It's
very
all
true,
ethereal.
Yeah.
Wild times.
Going down a weird rabbit hole here. Let's get back to the football. So we're going to be talking about the free agency situation in the NFL at the moment. Go through a few big names in the NFL that have signed new deals or restructured or signed deals with other teams.
Yep.
Not going to be able to touch on everyone today because there's so much going on. So leave in the comments below anyone that you think we've missed out maybe, or you'd like us to mention next episode maybe. Set us up for next time.
Lots of off-season, lots of time to
Yeah,
cover
exactly.
everything. This is just the highlights.
There's so
So
much
far.
going on as
so
well.
far as well. There's going to be stuff I'm ready in case anything comes in, anything big.
Yeah. The
Ready.
phone's there. Ready
Pretty
to
wild. Pretty wild time, but I think we should probably jump into it.
go. Yeah, probably a good idea.
All right.
Let's kick it off with the Patriots then. A lot of news coming out within the last hour or so.
Yeah.
Bill Belichick making some really, really big moves. Early doors, first 3 hours, I think it's 160 odd million in free agency he signed, which is a phenomenal number. Just to name a few, Jonnu Smith, they've signed Matthew Judon, Jalen Mills, and Davon Godchaux as well, which is an interesting one. And of course, Cam Newton re-signed for 1 year and a 5.5 million base deal. How do we feel about that? How do we like what the Patriots are doing there and just going early doors and
I think
hitting it?
they're going a little bit away from the Patriot way, as it seems to be. They would normally more just pick up a random guy. The joke was always they picked up a guy from Walmart, and next he's a Pro Bowler. But I think I like this. They're being more, they're attacking it. They're going after it. I think they've got the cap room, so why not? This is a free agency like no other, where there's so many teams that suddenly don't have the cap room that are having to do all kinds of cap wizardry, stuff that I reckon the NFL are going to look at in a couple of years' time. They're letting it go for this year, but I think all these, voidable years.
Yeah.
Don't quite understand it. Seems like a bit of a cheap way out. But what the Patriots are doing, they're going all over as well. They're not just focusing on one area. If you think about this defense, once they get the core of those 8 guys who sat out back, some of these free agents coming in, and that's just within the first few hours.
Yeah.
This is going to be a Bill Belichick defense. And I think Cam Newton's contract is perfect, 5.5, but could be 14 with so many incentives, which essentially is if he's bad, not the end of the world. If he comes out as an MVP, you've got an MVP for 14 mil.
Yeah.
Jonnu Smith again suits the Patriots. It's a tight end. That is a tight end scheme. Excited to see what happens there.
This could potentially be a really interesting team come next month and the draft. I personally really don't like what they've done in free agency in the sense that I don't think Jonnu Smith, especially, he's their big money move, right? He's their big kind of splash on offense that they've done. And I don't think it's enough. They need weapons on the offense. They need receivers. I don't think, while I really like Jonnu Smith, he's a great piece, but he's a complementary piece. He is not a showstopper offensive piece. Neither is Cam Newton anymore. I would have liked to see them go out and make a play for a receiver or a big name to something that's going to give that offense a real boost next year. Because I agree with you, Matt. The defense is going to be lights out.
Yeah.
They're getting all these pieces back. They've made a couple of nice additions in free agency. Whether they're set offensively, I'm not sold yet. I think this is a team, especially with Cam only being on a 1 year deal, I think they could make a run at a quarterback in the first round.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I think that's expected now. Or maybe towards the second, I think they could be looking Kyle Trask towards that. I think it's Mac Jones or Kyle Trask is going to be a Patriot.
Interesting. I'm liking the guy out of NDSU, North Dakota, Trey Lance.
Trey Lance.
I think he would be a really good understudy for a year with Cam Newton. He's athletic, he's big, he's strong, he can run in the same way as Cam Newton, but he's also got a cannon of an arm on him, and he doesn't throw picks.
I mean, that is a great fit, just whether they can be in the spot to get him. So I think there's a high chance out of this top 5 we see 3 or 4 of the top quarterbacks go. I think teams could get very loose with it, and there's going to be some trades. I think there's a lot to happen between now and then. But I think for this first 5 hours or whatever it's been, 4 hours, love what they've done. And there's still time to get receivers that you're talking about. There are still guys like Golladay, who is floating around, that they could just snag up. I mean, there's all talk as well, what with OBJ and what's going on with him in the Browns. Do they just go, all right, let's trade for him? There's still so much time for that. I think what they've done early, I love. Now you've got to build on it.
Yeah, get it done early, and then you can pick at the rest and make smart choices from here on out. But I think it's wise what they've done going this early. I think definitely.
Well, I want to put a team out there next to have a chat about, and that's the Arizona Cardinals. Ooh. They have made some really interesting moves this off-season. One in particular being the JJ Watt move. Obviously, signing him to a deal, getting him in, pairing him up with Chandler Jones. Great move, in my opinion. They've also managed to re-sign Robert Alford, Marcus Golden, Tanner Vallejo, a couple of pieces that are mainstays on that defense. They're not big, flashy moves, but I don't think that's what they needed. Their big, flashy move this year it was Hopkins and JJ Watt. They've made two huge moves in the last 12 months, and this is a team that's defense now has got the chance to make the jump with some of those second year guys that they drafted last year, kind of making that jump in the second year. The defensive line should be a real problem for any O-line in this league. If they're as good as they are offensively and keep getting better, this could be a really interesting team next year.
Yeah, I love what they've done. The weakness was the defense. I think the offense was inconsistent, but trending in the right direction. I didn't think they needed to do a ton there. Maybe a bit of O-line. Figure out what they're doing at running back. That's going to be an interesting thing to watch. Yeah. But this defense was the big need, and they're really shoring that up well. So I think they're building in the right direction. They're taking the right steps. Good start from them, I think. Yeah,
I mean, I was very high on them last year, and this is only going to further my expectations for them, shoring up that defense, like you say. So it's a very exciting time in Arizona right now.
Good time to be a fan. Like, I feel like there's been a few just off years, and now it's like, okay, we're actually building towards something.
Yeah.
And it feels like they can compete in that division. Finally.
Which is saying a lot in that division. A lot of good teams. A lot of good football teams.
Yeah, definitely. And they're so close to being there.
Exactly.
So close.
It'll be fun to watch. Big wildcard race.
Yeah. 100%.
So I'm just going to jump in predictably.
I knew this was coming.
I mean, mate, it's wizardry what the Bucks are doing. They've got Brady down to his $9 million cap hit for next year. Is Brady doing what Brady does? Love the voidable years. It's actually a 1-year extension, but technically a 4-year extension. He's earning $41 million this year, but it's a $9 million cap hit. Love it.
Yeah, smart.
Shaq Barrett coming back. That got done today. Big 4-year deal, but it works out to, I think, $5.6 million cap hit this year. Again, I'm guessing that's quite a backloaded contract. We're in a window. Got to go for it. Godwin on the tag. Levante David got a deal done. I think 2-year extension works out to like a couple mil cap hit this year. We've got a lot of that core for under like 30 million cap hit next year. We've still got room to keep going. We've got guys like Fournette, AB that we need to be trying to keep around as well. Potential's there to do it in the way we're doing these deals. I think there's going to be players that are happy to take the hometown deals. You've got no tax, and you're going to be in a great shot to get a Super Bowl.
Yeah. I know what you said there about the window as well. It's so evident that's what's happening right now in Tampa.
All in for the next 2-3 years, and then after that, we're going to have a ton of dead cap and weird cap situations, but it's worth it if you can get 2 or 3 rings.
I mean, even one is at this point.
You guys are in the spot, like you say, James. Like, even one. You guys can afford to pay these guys basically as a cheers, you got us a ring. You're in this window that, for all we know, and I'll be the first on the show to say it because people say it every single year, some point Brady's going to fall off a cliff. Maybe it's this year. Maybe it isn't.
It's never.
But I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's probably not. So pay the guys now, keep them in town because maybe you do get another ring out of it. And if you don't get another ring out of it, well then, hey, it was a good ride, wasn't it? And you beat Mahomes in the Super Bowl. How many people are going to be able to say that for the next 15, 20 years?
Yeah, that's very true, actually.
And it's been out and out brilliant to watch as well. Especially, I mean, I can imagine it as a fan of the team having.
It's a very quick turnaround as well. One of those. It's not going to be as good as we hope. I don't want to get my hopes up now. It's like right, hopes are up. I'm all in. We're winning the next 3 Super Bowls. Yeah. Take it or leave
Run it back. Run it back is what I think they were saying, wasn't it? So exciting times again in Tampa. But keeping on the Super Bowl front, you mentioned the Chiefs there. Chiefs have made some moves.
Questionable moves.
Yes. So just to run through a few of them. Eric Fisher released, offensive tackle. Mitchell Schwartz as well, offensive tackle, got released. And also the starting centre, Austin Reiter, I think is how you say the name
I'm not going to go out on a limb on that one.
Oh, so those three names was that was hard work right
Yeah.
there. Now the ones I do know: Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, not released, restructure their contracts, which is important for the team. Yeah, you've seen it around the league. These teams are doing it. Smart move to do. Also signed Joe Funny as well. 5 years, just come out actually. Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
5 years, $80 million deal.
That's important.
That's very important.
Joe Tooney is a very good player, but one player doesn't make up for three starting O-linemen going. The most important O-lineman, your centre who runs the thing, your starter, is gone. Your first overall pick from 2012 is gone. Your other starting tackle is gone. We saw what happened with two of those pieces missing in the O-line. Patrick Mahomes ran for nearly 500 yards avoiding the rush.
Impressive.
I mean, there are some teams this year who had running backs who were starting who ran for less yards in a season. Like, it was a mess. I think they might have overextended here in trying to keep all the offensive flashy weapons around and not thought, hang about, how are the best teams built? Solid O-line, decent defense, keep your quarterback happy. Great, give him all the weapons and stuff, but if you can't protect him, it's all for nothing. So I worry about this team going forward. However, Andy Reid's a great coach. Joe Tooney is a good pickup. You've still got the draft. They will more than likely come back with a functional O-line, and that is all Mahomes needs to go 10-6 at the least.
Yeah, I think as much as it was a nightmare in terms of keeping Mahomes in the pocket and keeping a clean space for him, as well, he did still make some throws, and the receivers just dropped them. If his receivers play at even 80% all they should, or catch a few of them, much closer game changes the game script entirely. So I can see a little bit of why they're like, okay, this isn't like getting rid of these guys who also, those tackles, were injured. Big injuries for both of them as well. Yeah. You don't know how well they're coming back. They're not exactly at the start of their careers. They're not young guys. So, especially when cap's so limited, I can see the thought process. I just think we're going to see them target that O-line heavily through the draft and free agency further. And I think Thuney is a great pickup. Interested to see how the contract breaks down, whether they're going to have done something to shift it towards the tail end. You see all the details as well of how Kelce and Mahomes' contracts are restructured, because Mahomes was already a very up and down sort of contract of where he had the big cap hits. So I think seeing how all of these interact, because that 5-year deal is going to have to work around all the other deals as well. Yeah. So you can't necessarily backload it to make this year work because you've already got some big deals coming up. So I'm really intrigued to see the maths behind this cap.
Well, I know that Mahomes, because this, with him being a first round pick, this year coming up will be his fifth year option year, so he will actually only be getting paid. He's still playing on his rookie deal at the moment, so his cap hit won't be huge because it was an extension. What they've effectively done is promise him, here's the contract, you're going to get the money down the line, and they give him a bit of a signing bonus, but his cap hit this year won't be huge. It'll be Kelce that'll be the interesting one.
Yeah, it certainly will be, I think.
So, next team I want to talk about is the Bills. Matt Milano, I think, is the main one here. Matt Milano, linebacker, keeping that defense together. They've been a good defense a couple of years now, and this will be really interesting going forward because I think this defense is going to have to stay at the top to keep up in this division, just because I think the Bills are going to have a lot of competition in the next couple of years from the Dolphins. I think the Dolphins have got a great coach, and their offense is just going to get better. I mean, especially with all the rumours about maybe there's going to be some trades, maybe they're not done at quarterback. But even then, I'm not sold on them at quarterback, but I still think that Tua is a middling quarterback. So this is a great signing for them. Had to happen.
Yeah, I think you need to keep him around because for me, I think either Russell Wilson or Deshaun Watson is in this division next year. If he moves, I think you've got two of the front runners in Jets and Dolphins in terms of what they can offer a team to get one of these guys. Yeah. So I think it's very likely. And I'm relatively high as well on what I think we're going to get from the Patriots. I think it's a massive bounce back. So in what is going to be a very competitive division, sort of out of nowhere, you've got to bring back the key guys, and that's what they've done here.
Yeah. Also managed to bring back their offensive tackle, Tyrell Williams, again. Keep that O-line, keep the consistency. I think that's quite a lot of things that some people miss when they consider what young quarterbacks need around them. A lot of the time, it's just best to get consistency, so keeping these players around is always helpful.
Yeah, I think that consistency is the key point. You know, they made great strides the last few years, and I mean, if you get rid of these guys, you're in a lot of trouble, I think. So
Exactly.
definitely good signs.
Speaking of consistency, the Packers, I like what they've done it. They kept it simple. I think this time, even like 24 hours ago, convinced Aaron Jones he's not going to be a Packer. He's gone. They're going to go into AJ Dillon. And I bought him back 4 years, $48 million. For me, great decision. Yeah, they've done the right thing there. I think it would be a gamble to put everything in the AJ Dillon in that role. I think he will fill it at some point. I think he's going to be a great lead back. But why do it yet when Aaron Jones is a monster? And he's putting up some massive multi-touchdown games. In those games where they really dial in and shut down the passing attack, the Packers can go, all right, off you go, Aaron. And he gets it done. So they're in a window with Rodgers. Not necessarily how long Rodgers has got to play, just how long Rodgers wants to play there.
Yeah.
Because they are on some thinning ice over the last few years with him, I think, in what they're doing. And this is finally what I think, you turn around a bit and say, a good decision by the front office in an off-season. Now they've just got to go from there and develop it and bring in some weapons for him. Maybe a linebacker as well to shore up that defence. But it's a good start.
Yeah, turn it around.
A receiver in the draft?
That would be handy. It would be very handy. Lean off Devontae Adams a little bit, but...
I think they need that early kind of receiver just to settle people down, and then I think they've got to dial into that defense. Linebacker, secondary as well. Because I mean, we saw what happened.
Yeah,
with the Bucks and that last.
They've got a couple of nice pieces on the secondary, but
they've got to shore it up.
Their draft will be key this year.
Yeah.
Their draft, if they draft poorly again, Aaron Rodgers is not going to be happy, and this is probably realistically the last year of Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay, in my opinion. I don't think you can. I think they put that on the cards the second that they drafted Bryce Love. Not Bryce Love, sorry. I'm getting a couple of years ahead of myself. Jordan Love. Yeah. Bryce Love, I believe, is at Alabama. He'll be coming out in a couple of years. But yeah, as soon as they drafted Jordan Love, they put a clock on it because they said they took a guy in the first round. They've said this is our guy going forward. He will be because we've taken him in the first round. Therefore, at some point, we're moving on from Aaron Rodgers. You can't take a guy in the first round, never give him the chance to play, and move on from him. You just can't do that. It's a wasted pick.
I still think, unless I think if the Packers, let's say, get to another championship game and lose, I think Rodgers goes in that scenario. I think anything around that, if it's just not that same so close but heartbreak, if it was kind of a low playoff run, like they don't get that close that they will start to believe they get into the Super Bowl, I still think there's maybe 2 years.
Yeah,
I think unless it is almost a repeat if they get to play at Lambeau in a championship game and lose, then I think he'll be like, I just can't do this for 3 years in a row. It's not changing. But I just think if maybe they bring in some young pieces that don't necessarily fully perform or they get all the way there, I think he sticks around. My gut is there's 2 more years left for him there. And then it becomes really contract friendly as well and cap friendly for them all to just part. Yeah. And be like, okay. Because I think as well, from everything we're hearing, Jordan Love didn't make enough progress in year 1 to even be considered. So I think this year is where you start to maybe think, maybe I can't see him coming on enough to go, yeah, Rodgers, you're out.
Yeah, I think
from what we've seen, he's not. He might have a first round pick tender on him in that weight, but he's got to play well enough. Just because he's a first round pick, you can't go, let's throw him in. If what you're seeing on the practice field is not first round pick and starter worthy, when you've got Rodgers there, you cannot do that.
See, that's where I think the only way in which he's around this time next year is if they win a Super Bowl. Because or maybe if they get to the championship game, if they're still on the cusp. I think if they have a very average year and he doesn't look great, there's going to be a lot of pressure on them to go, look, Rodgers is in the twilight of his career. You've only got 2 years left before you have to exercise your 5th year option on your rookie, or the guy you drafted a couple of years ago, the guy you traded up to get in the first round, because you're not going to be in a situation that you can ever move on from Love without playing him, without giving him the starter job, without taking so much flack. Now, the only way that they do that is if Rodgers keeps winning and keeps them at a championship level. Last year, they were at they made it to the NFC Championship game. They were at just under a championship level. He has to be there, otherwise they're going to consider moving on, and he's going to want to move on.
Well, I don't know, I'm not so sure it'll be a year, though. I think that's quite a harsh maybe look on it, but as long as they're making strides, right? As long as they're making strides and looking better this year compared to last year, and like you say, beating on the championship game, then definitely more than a year, I think. And this signing Aaron Jones, I think, is a good chance to make those strides and a good way of them securing down and saying, let's do it now.
Good first step.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Let's see what they do from here.
yeah. Exactly. But won't be a year.
We'll see.
It won't be.
The Texans, though, another team that we've been very harsh on them. I think in our last episode we put them in the Adam Gase category in our tier list
Particularly not to be.
for our way too early season rankings. But they made a few acquisitions in free agency, a few smart ones, if you like. Get these pieces in. Just to name a few guys: Mark Ingram, 1 year, 1.5 million base, can be up to 3 million. In the running back room, Justin Britt on the O-line, Marcus Callan, offensive tackle, Shaq Lawson, linebacker, Christian Kirksey, linebacker, Vernon Hargreaves, re-signed, Andre Roberts, wide receiver, also a special teams guy as well.
Yeah.
And then Greg Hill, and linebacker. I mean, there's a lot of names to list off there, and I'm sure there's going to be more the way they're rebuilding with no picks.
Yeah.
Are we changing our view on this season, or are we still thinking that they're bottom tier?
So I think the phrase that comes to mind for me is quality over quantity. We need to see. This is a complete overhaul of the entire franchise, not just this team. I mean, JJ Watt going marks that entirely. Deshaun Watson, we're going to be talking about that all off season. I think that isn't something that happens soon. If it happens, that could run to the draft, past it, who knows. What they're doing now, though, is they're being active, and that is what I really like. If they just sat there and did nothing and just essentially tried to talk to Deshaun Watson like, no, we're going to fix it now, just wait around. Not the right attitude here. They're going out, they're being aggressive, they're getting guys, they're making trades. We'll see how these all pan out and what this team looks like come September, come August. But I like it. I think we've got to see how the guys develop, how they'll fit together, how they play. This isn't a 1 year rebuild. This is a rebuild across a few years coming up. And they've got to be active in free agency. As you said, they don't have early picks in the draft. They've got to hit on late round gems and do this to build this team. So more power to it.
Yeah. And a lot of these players as well, they're not big flashy players. They're not players that, in my opinion, are probably going to be there in 2-3 years' time. What these guys are actually doing at the moment in Houston is resetting. They have they have taken what 4 or 5 years ago was quite an attractive place for free agents and to go, because they were consistently in the playoffs, had a good young quarterback with Deshaun Watson, good skill positions, and in the space of a couple of years, Bill O'Brien took that, flushed it down the drain, and now no one wants to go to Houston. It's not attractive. You don't want to get drafted there. You don't want to go there in free agency. You don't want to get traded there. So what they're doing is they're flushing out the old guard. They're going to reset the team, and hopefully, if they can get to, 5-11 next year, 6-10, each like just squeeze by, get a couple of wins, make it look like it's not an unpleasant place to be, then what they're really doing now is setting themselves up for this time next year and the year after, when they've got a bit more money to play with and there are other guys on the market that they can maybe make a run at. They're in a better spot to sign the big names then. So I think they're doing about as much as they can at this point.
Yeah, it just spells a new era, I think, in Houston. Yeah. You know, Deshaun Watson, likelihood is not going to be there next year. Yeah. And like you mentioned, JJ Watt as well is not going to be there at all. So a new era for Houston. Yeah. I think these picks help build towards that as well.
Well, talking of new eras, let's mention the Lions a little bit. Bit of a new era in Detroit, obviously. Dan Campbell coming in, the big trade for Goff, getting hold of his guy and a guy that Dan Campbell clearly really believes in. But they managed to keep hold of Romeo Okwara. Big season, career year last year with 10 sacks. That's going to be key on that D-line. They need to create pressure. A couple of their young secondary players last year, I think, struggled adjusting to the NFL, but showed a lot of promise. So as much pressure as you can create up front takes a bit of the load off that secondary, and it will allow them to get better, which is great. They also managed to sign Tyrell Williams, who, whilst not a flashy guy, is kind of fits well in their system in the way that big playability that Kenny Golladay, losing him, they are really going to miss. Tyrell Williams has that speed. He is the kind of guy who can make that big play. Did it for a number of years in Los Angeles and St. Louis. He was a really impressive guy. So I think that's quite a good signing. But again, this is a team that, in my opinion, has still got a lot of progression to make. Another team I want to be seeing what they do in the draft.
Yeah, I mean, Okwara coming back, that is the main thing, I think, for me, that I was looking for. I think Golladay, I think in terms of what it could cost them to keep him, in terms of what will be on the table, especially because they're not just going to have to equal offers, they're going to have to pay above, because I think there's going to be teams that are like, come win a ring, that are out there looking for him. I think they should go through the draft. This is a long rebuild process that, for me, I'm behind. I think they're going to hit the ground running, quite literally in their play style. But go through the draft, do it the right way. Don't overpay guys now to try and compensate for the fact you're not right there close to winning a ring yet. Set this up as a 5-10 year rebuild, like a planned out thing. Don't just go, we've got to keep these guys around.
Yeah, smart.
The risk with that is Golladay is, in my opinion, that good. You look at his numbers through his first 5 years in his career, he's right there with Megatron. I mean, in terms of stats and stuff like that, he is at Hall of Fame pace at the moment. I mean, he has the potential to really be the kind of person that after when all is said and done, his 10-year career, everyone kind of goes, wow, like what? Because you never really consider him as like really one of the best in the league, but he is. And it is tricky to just let that walk without having an heir apparent in the wings.
True.
Say, let's take Atlanta. If Atlanta let Julio walk with Calvin Ridley there, I'll be much more comfortable seeing that than in Detroit, where they don't really. I mean, Marvin Jones is a good slot receiver. Don't get me wrong, and he's a good pass catcher most of the time. Dropped quite a lot last season, but he is not a Kenny Golladay. And
but do they want to pay him?
That's the thing for me.
Do they want to pay him?
His talent, I think, doesn't outweigh what you're going to have to pay him to keep him away from some of these other teams. Let's say, I don't know, someone like, it might not work cap-wise, but let's say the Packers come knocking.
Yeah,
you're going to have to pay him so much more to try and even turn his head back towards Detroit. So I think for me, it's just not worth it. Just sort of, done you well, this is a complete new era, let him go. Give the keys to DeAndre Swift. That is.
Do you have him in fantasy by any chance?
No, I don't. I like it. Whoever's got him in our dynasty.
Oh, it's not me. No, I thought it was me for a second there.
Give you Zeke.
Yeah.
Please. I'll give you David Johnson. I don't want him in fantasy anymore.
Yeah, that's why I gave him to you for Zeke.
Zeke would be an interesting one.
What a trade!
Johnson and Mac, and I got Zeke.
God, can you imagine that trade would be a?
And I got Stills.
Yeah.
That I let go, and then you pick back up.
Yeah.
A lot of wild things have happened in our dynasty trade-wise, I think.
Moving on.
Yeah, moving on.
I'm just going to remind you of that one every year we do this, but that's always coming up.
Pains you.
Can we talk about the next team, please?
No. Let's talk about your fantasy failures. So, year one when you play fantasy, you were just bad.
No, I wasn't.
Yeah.
I was cracking. Mate, it was only this year.
Didn't you lose to me?
You lost to me as well.
Cracking.
Yeah, I lost to you. You were the only
the
regular
semi,
season loss.
And
then I
playoffs.
lost in the semis, even though in the regular season I outscored everyone by like 5
No, you lost
points.
to me in regular season as well.
Yeah, you lost to him. You went 1-on-1 with me, and then I beat you. In the
And you were
cup.
trashing me all year because I was like not very good that year.
But
Fantasy.
let's bring this round. We were just talking about that Zeke trade that we made. The really one-sided Zeke trade that we made.
That you failed on
And
miserably.
Just wait.
Zeke plays for the Cowboys. The Cowboys have made quite the move as well. They've just decided we don't need a defense. We're going to pay Dak finally, which I like. I really like Dak in that system. We've seen he's quite instrumental to all aspects of it.
Yeah.
4 years, 160 million. Woo. He's got the bag, and he's got it. That was the big thing, was the duration. He's got the duration he wanted. I think as well. I saw a stat, and it was that within a year, sort of from when this was signed, if you go back a year, the talks were around 130, but then wanting it as around a 5, maybe longer year deal. So they managed to take a year off and get him up 30 mil. So Dak's agent. Well played. Good job, mate.
Yeah.
But I love this. I think they had to. They had to keep Dak around. And now it's all in his hands. I mean, you're not going to have a great defense around you necessarily. And that O-line is aging. Go out there and get it done, mate. You've got to get to the playoffs this year. And you can't just get there in the wild card round and go out. You've got to make a run. Now with everything they've got there. And this has got to be a team that is just lighting up opponents. Because they've got a great receiver core. They've got options at tight end. Still a good O-line even though it's aging when it's healthy. And then, as we already discussed, Zeke.
Zeke, yeah.
I mean, it's all there. Go get it done.
Yeah, coming back from injury as well this makes it slightly more risky for me in that department.
Yeah.
The mental side of coming back from an injury is as bad as that. And you mentioned the O-line as well. If it's a failing O-line, then the chance of re-injury in his mind could be there.
That is very
but
true.
they know what they got in Dak Prescott, like healthy Dak Prescott. brilliant footballer. So I mean,
I think
I
as,
like it
well,
as well.
yeah, the thing which Jerry Jones gets criticised a lot for a lot of things that he does, but one of the things I really like about Jerry Jones is no matter what, he is very much if you come into the organisation and you do something for this organisation, he looks after his guys.
Yeah.
And he respects like something. I think from the second that Dak went down, that Jerry Jones would have decided, right, at that point he went, look, no matter what happens, he's getting paid.
Yeah.
And I don't think for a second Jerry Jones was ever not going to pay Dak. Dak earned this. I mean, he was on pace for 6,800 yards. He'd have broken the regular season passing record by like 1,800 yards or something outrageous.
Fancy,
yeah, got fancy.
It was
I
brilliant.
loved it.
But yeah, he's earned it. Now it's time to go out and, to be honest, earn his second one, because he's going to be 30 or 31 when this contract comes up. More than enough time to maybe even squeeze 2 more big deals out of his career. He's not only got to go and prove now that he's worth that, but it's his chance to go and, next time I'm going to get 200 million in 4 years, or 250. Go out and earn it, because it's in front of him and he's got everything around him to do it.
So he's good enough for it as well.
Yeah.
He's
He's
more than
shown
good
he's
enough.
got the talent.
Yeah, exactly. And you spoke about loyalty there with Jerry Jones. Moves us very nicely into our next team. Drew Brees, the Saints. Loyal man to that organisation. Has retired officially. The rumours were around for a little while now, but it came out last night, I think.
Yeah, officially broken.
Drew Brees retired, obviously.
Oh,
Sad news for the league. Happy news for anyone in that division. But I mean, overall, what a career.
Yeah,
Hall
you've
of
got to
Famer.
respect what he's done. Guaranteed golden jacket.
First ballot.
Yeah, exactly.
He's going.
So a bit of news out of New Orleans. Some other news as well. Restructured contracts. Taysom Hill, Michael Thomas, Cam Jordan, among others.
Anyone
There's
understand
been
the
a lot of names.
Taysom Hill?
I think I said in the last episode. I just don't know. You see some of the attitudes in that locker room. Are they going to restructure? Yeah, they have.
Yeah.
I name dropped Cam Jordan specifically. He has.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
what was going on with that? That's a wild one, to say the least.
Taysom
Hill.
Ridiculous.
I don't understand it. I think we were sat here last night when it came through, and Matt was like, Taysom Hill, 140 million. I was like, sorry, have I walked into a parallel universe?
And at that point, it was like, pause the TV. We need to concentrate on this one.
It's essentially, though, the 4 years, 140 million, all 4 years avoidable. So it's I don't quite understand it. I don't think necessarily everyone does unless you're really involved in it or a cat wizard. But for me, is this even a contract? The fact they can just void it, this screams to me, I think in terms of what he's earning this year, it's around the teens, or even less. It's not stupid money. It doesn't add up to the 140. I don't know if it's just given as that because it's essentially an extension of his current deal. If it was 4 years and what he's on now, it would be 140. But it's all voidable, so they can, if they want to, just go, bye. You're gone. This is what I mean by, I don't think this is going to be something that is doable in the NFL moving forward.
Yeah,
the way the Bucs are abusing it, the way I think the Saints definitely are with this, and this for me is just a way to reduce Taysom Hill's cap hit. And as much as some people might go, 4 years, 140 mil, he's the starter. He's not. They're going to re-sign Jameis. That deal is being worked on now. He is, quote unquote, their guy. They're calling it, it'll be a competition in camp. What that means is, if Jameis Winston throws a ton of picks, we'll go Taysom Hill. If not, this is Jameis's to lose, in my opinion. Which, as much as when you say about the Breeze retirement, I'm a bit like, at least he's gone right. Saints are on the downhill. I am terrified of Jameis Winston because
haunting.
I know at some point he is going to light us up. It's going to happen. It's just that is the most Jameis thing to do. But him without the picks is a very, very good quarterback.
Yeah.
One in college. If he can get rid of that, we've already seen he can throw as many touchdowns as he needs to. He can throw the yards. He can make the throws when the pocket collapses. He can come up with plays out of nowhere. If he gets rid of the picks, the Saints keep rolling with what they're doing here, especially with the team are bought in and restructuring.
They're managing to keep around a lot of those pieces on defense as well, which has made this team so competitive for the last couple of years. The franchise tag of Marcus Williams, I think, was key. So they're keeping him. Marshawn Lattimore obviously coming back on his deal. I'm unsure if they've extended Lattimore yet. I can't really remember, if I'm honest with you. But if they haven't, they will. That was one of the better safety pairings from one draft in living memory for these guys. It's all going to come down to the quarterback for the Saints. If one of these two guys can play well, then they're a competitive team. If they can't, then they're probably not, because like
I
I don't think you can rely just on Alvin Kamara.
I think
I'd
they'll
agree.
still be competitive until they come up against teams that can shut down the run. Because for me, you've seen what Kamara can do, and especially the way they use that backfield. Like, that team can be a run-first team because the defense is a monster. The best part of that team is the defense.
Yeah.
Which says a lot because you have to debate it in your head because the offense is pretty damn good as well.
Yeah.
So I think regardless, they're a competitive team next year. For me, it's whether they're a competitive, will be there in January, but no expectation, or whether they're this is a Super Bowl dark horse or a team that should be there. And that, as I said, all comes down to what they get at quarterback, because the rest of this team is consistent.
Do we think there is a chance that if Jameis doesn't get signed, or that they're not quite sold on him, that this is another team that in the second half of the first round / trade up early second round might be considering a Mac Jones or a Kyle Trask or a Keelan Mond or one of these guys who's not quite the premier quarterbacks, but someone that maybe they can sit for a year behind one of the guys who's earning a bit more money now?
I think they're in the quarterback market. I think there's an argument that they don't go down that route. I think there is an argument that they look at someone like Ryan Fitzpatrick, who has shown he can get rid of the picks. We don't know what's going on with him. Is he retiring? Is he going back to the Dolphins? What's he doing?
Yeah.
To the Saints, just go, do you want to try win a ring on your way out? Walk out a winner? Because the way he played last year, and to be fair to an extent the year before, you put that in the Saints, that's fine. Because he's toned down on the erratic Fitzmagic we saw for the Bucks, where you didn't know what you were getting, but it can be 4 touchdowns and 7 picks in a game.
Yeah.
Fun to watch.
Great to watch.
Great to watch.
Enjoyed it.
But that's not. I think for me, they're in the market, and I could see them going more towards a veteran than drafting a young guy, because they're in a window now.
Yeah.
And with these guys restructuring, if I'm there, I'm Michael Thomas or Cam Jordan, and I'm like, right, restructure, I'm taking less money or whatever. And then they go, yeah, we're going to bring in a rookie. Good luck next year. He's going to have to learn. And not even one of the touted rookies, someone at a lower end that is a complete swing.
Yes.
For me, that is one way to lose a dressing room a little bit and have them be like, hold on, what?
Yeah, you can spend that pick a lot more wiser, I think. But it's an interesting thought process, you know. You never know what's going on in that
Well, that's the best thing about the draft, isn't it? This
so
time
bad.
last year, no one would have been saying, you know what I reckon's going to trade up in the first round for a quarterback? The Packers.
Yeah, exactly. So,
yeah, very true.
any given Sunday.
Yeah.
Or Thursday.
Yeah.
Because
Thursday
the draft is, Or,
I'd put some holiday from work. That's made me think.
Yeah. Maybe set a reminder.
Just don't show up.
Yeah. No, that's weird. No, don't do that.
Who would
It's
have
not
thought
a
I'd be the
business
one
decision.
that's being the responsible?
I just agreed to that blind. Yeah. Wait a minute. No.
True feelings coming out from James.
Right then, boys.
Never going to react on impact again.
We've got one more team I want to talk about. And this is just because I think it's quite an interesting move. Not one that we see every day in signings. And that is the 49ers making a bit of a move and signing a running back. But not just a running back, a fullback. We've been transported back to the 1970s. And we're signing a fullback on a long-term deal. 5 years, 27 million. Really like to see this from Kyle Juszczyk. Is probably the best fullback in the league. It's nice to see that the position's hanging on in there.
He deserves
and
it.
he gets paid.
He deserves it.
So, yeah, fair play to him. They also managed to sign a couple of corners, Jason Verrett and Emmanuel Mosley, which, again, really useful in that system, keeping as many of those defensive players around as they can to try and keep that consistency and stay as one of the better defenses in the league. And hopefully, if they get everyone healthy, they will come back as that.
That's the key thing, isn't it? Keep everyone healthy.
Yeah.
You can sign whoever you want back, but the health issues keep on creeping in. And
Yeah, the Jets can attest to that.
Yeah. So,
I mean, Juszczyk, for me, is as much as he's a fullback, he's a Swiss Army knife in that offense. He does more than what the traditional fullback does. He is used in all aspects, and one of I feel like the few teams that properly utilise him, but as a receiving threat, as a blocker, to hand off the ball, he does everything. When he's out there, you're like, I can't nail down what he's doing. A lot of fullbacks, you're like, he's just running straight ahead and trying to block something, punch a gap. This guy does everything, so fair play to him. He's got the deal.
Yeah,
I like it. San Fran's keeping it moving, keeping it where it needs to be. They are a team that, when healthy, will compete. Just keep everyone there.
Yeah,
That's
That's all you need to do. When this team was healthy last, you got to a Super Bowl and lost to the Chiefs, which are arguably now a worse version of the Chiefs, I'd say, as we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
So you put that matchup happening now with everything healthy, I'd go Niners. So I mean, I think from their point of view, they know what they need to do.
Do it.
Just do it.
Just do it. Keep healthy.
Just do it.
Just do it.
Just do it. Sponsored by. Not yet. Not yet sponsored by them. But yeah, Kyle Juszczyk, probably the second best fullback in the league behind Pat Ricard of the Ravens. So
Oh, of course.
love to see
Super Bowl
it.
champions don't really need a proper fullback.
We'll talk at the end of the season.
Oh, okay. Should we put a bet on it?
If the Bucks don't win the Super Bowl, it's because they needed a fullback.
Should have traded for Patrick Ricard, I reckon.
Yeah. Or, well, Kyle Juszczyk.
Get everyone
maybe,
else
but
to restructure their deals so you can find the cap space and get a fullback.
just go all out. Give a
Yeah.
QB contract to a fullback. It's the way forward. That is the league in 5 years' time. You heard it here first.
And everyone has clicked off.
Yeah. No one is left listening.
Anyway, that is all the teams we have time to cover today.
Yep.
I'm sure there's going to be more developments in the league throughout, which we'll mention in later episodes down the line as well. And like I mentioned before, leave any names in the comments below of guys that you'd like us to mention maybe, or guys that we've missed perhaps.
Or opinions you don't agree with.
Yeah.
If you hate that Dax re-signed,
I mean,
no.
Yeah,
that would be a bold one to come out in the comments. Like, no, he did not deserve that.
Jerry Jones in the comments. I hate that. But unless you boys have any further points to raise,
Don't think I do.
any curveballs?
No.
No? I thought you said you had one then. I was
No.
ready to
I was
go.
expecting Sam to have something.
Normally
Normally
does.
We know what happens.
No.
No.
I'm out. I'm spent.
Fully spent. Good episode.
Solid episode.
Solid episode.
One of the better ones, maybe.
We'll let the viewers decide that. But if you're at home, be sure to head over to YouTube. Go like, comment, and subscribe. Also, turn on the notification bell.
Yeah.
There it is.
Let you know when we post out an episode. It's very vital.
If you're on your phone, you might need to go into your settings and change some settings. Apparently.
Apparently, or
Make sure
definitely.
you got
Yeah, no,
notifications
you've
on.
got to go. Yeah, you've got to go and turn notifications on. Otherwise, you don't get the thing if you've got the bell. It's a right confusing
Yeah.
lark, but make sure you've done it. So, please.
Whatever he just said, do
What he
that
said.
if you're on phone.
Yeah.
Is that Android, iPhone, iPad?
I think it's both.
I mean, iPhones work properly compared to his Android, so I think
Yeah, true. Yeah.
most people will be fine.
Android
Yeah.
Master Race, mate. That's all I'm saying.
Also, head over to Twitter and Instagram. We're at the Brit Iron. Join the community over there. Slowly building it up. So get involved with the conversation. But for now, thank you for listening. We'll see you next time.
See ya.